recording this. It's recording.
Okay, welcome crowds. I'm Sally Lipsky from Plant-Based Pittsburgh, and I just want to introduce our beautiful spread here with two talented cooks, and then one, I am not a talented cook. Oh, a third talented cook too. We were supposed to have a PowerPoint that would be displaying the recipes and some extra ones. We had little technical difficulties. So it doesn't matter because you're getting the whole PowerPoint as a PDF. In addition, you are going to get the recipe of plant-based Thanksgiving. You're going to get this PDF. It's at Forks Over Knives. I brought the hard copy for our crowds. And then you're also going to get the Happy Herbivore has a Thanksgiving PDF, which I'm sending you all. And then I have a Mary McDougall, and that's on the PDF, on the PowerPoint that, and I like it because she outlines, McDougall's outline like tips for doing on the timeline as what you should do, maybe put this in the refrigerator, do this first. So you will be getting all this, well, tomorrow, because we have to download the recording and put it on our YouTube channel. So having said that, I am going to introduce, there we are, Linda Jones.
Hello.
And if you don't know Brittany Giroudi, she's behind you. She'll be up here too. And then we have Susan Greenberg, who will be helped. Well, I guess you
We'll
won't
show
be.
the camera.
Yeah, we'll show the
Yes.
camera. She made the pumpkin brownies. You'll be getting that recipe. And she'll be help serving all the delicious food, which you will unfortunately not be able to taste today, but that's okay. So who is going first here?
Just briefly, me.
Briefly,
Hello.
Linda.
Glad to be with everybody. I think it was years ago, Emerald Lagasse said, too bad you don't have smell-o-vision, because it is really very tasty here already. We've been nibbling. I'm glad to be here. This is kind of home for me. We were here a couple of weeks ago for the first time in-house, in library for a couple of years. But I'm comfortable here and familiar with this room because this is where I started my food for knowledge and food for health journey 6 or 7 years ago with Sally. So I'm comfortable here. I'm familiar here. Probably a little more comfortable sitting out there than being here, but I love food. I love what we're doing. I love what we're promoting. So we'll get started. So the first thing I'd like to share with you, and I think we can start serving it if you want, is
Look, I
a
can,
recipe,
it's on a dolly.
that I discovered, and my husband and I play this little game called Rate a Recipe. And I discovered this a few weeks ago and we made it, and we both rated this recipe very high. It's called, and you'll get a copy of it, Creamy Lentil and Vegetable Bake. So it's basically 3 layers. It's put together pretty quickly. Here's what the finished, and if you want to serve it, Susan, you can. Here's what the finished product looks like. It is very, very good. So the first layer, we'll get started. Yeah, I need that. You need to use it in plastic. Yeah. The first layer of a 13 by 9 pan, and I have a lot of glass pans. I use them in the oven. I use them in the microwave. I freeze in them so they come in handy. This is also a recipe that if you don't want to use a 13 by 9, you could use an 8-inch square, a 9-inch square. Just cut the recipe in half. It works very well that way. So the first layer are vegetables. You can steam them, you can microwave them, you can roast them, what other vegetables your family likes. I took the easy route and got frozen broccoli and cauliflower that I steamed yesterday, and squash that was already prepared, and I steamed that yesterday. So all 3 layers I actually made yesterday, kept them separate, and then you can, when you want to eat it, then just put them together and you're ready to go. So these go in the bottom of the pan. This is 6 cups, by the way. And for the first time, the original recipe doesn't call for any seasoning, but I just read somewhere it's good when you layer food to season every layer, make it more flavorful. So I have a little packet here of seasonings. You can put any general seasoning on you would like. This is a combination of it's actually herbes de Provence, which is a mixture of rosemary, thyme, marjoram, tarragon, basil, oregano. So I'm seasoning that. But as I say, you do not have to season this layer.
Someone asked, where did you purchase that really nice container that you have insulated?
This is.
They want to know where the packaging is.
Bed Bath and Beyond. Years ago, it's probably about 10 years old. Okay, we have our first layer, vegetables. Second layer, and while these, if you're doing it all at the same time when the vegetables are cooking in the oven or roasting, you can get busy with the second layer. The second layer is, we're going to saute, or I sauteed at home yesterday, saute onions and garlic with a little bit of water till the onion is translucent. Then you add 1.5 cups of lentils. I've used typically black lentils and green lentils or brown lentils before. This time I did a combination of black beluga lentils and also red lentils. So the thing with red lentils, they're a little softer. It won't change the taste of this dish, but the texture, the consistency will be a little bit looser, which is fine. So this is what in my saute pan, I have the onions and the garlic with a little bit of water. I put in 1.5 cups of rinsed and drained lentils, dry lentils, and I put in 4 cups of low sodium veggie broth. And right on top of the pan, I have a handful of fresh thyme that I just pat down. Don't mix it in because you're going to be throwing the thyme out. So just pat the thyme down. And then when this is done on the stove, take it off your heat, turn off your stove. And then you want to mix in, this is the trifecta, the creamy that makes this dish so good. There's 3 ingredients: 1/4 cup tahini, 2 tablespoons balsamic, and 2 tablespoons miso. Mix that in a bowl and it'll be really thick and chunky, but that's okay. Because once you put it into the lentil mixture, remember you've taken out the thyme. Once you put it into the lentil mixture, then it becomes very creamy and goes together very well. So this is your second layer. This gets put on top. Now I have in the recipe directions, after your lentils are done, and you can check and see, they should almost be soft. If they're a little bit firm, that's okay, because this is going to be going into the oven another 20 minutes. If you have more than a cup or so of liquid, I would drain some of that out, but you need some liquid. So this I'm putting right second layer.
There was a question, how much of the herbes de Provence did you use?
Probably 3 to 5 tablespoons. But as I said, the first few times I've made this, I didn't use any seasoning on the bottom. This middle layer is very flavorful, and the top layer is also very flavorful. So this all goes. And the nice thing about it, I've baked this before and let it cool, and I've also frozen it into sections for us to eat later. Okay, here's what the second layer looks like. And then here comes the top layer. And as I said, I made these all yesterday and kept them separate until this morning when I baked this morning. The one that everybody's tasting. Is it good?
Delicious.
Yeah, we really like
Not the
it.
official food.
We really like it. Okay, here's my cashew cream. This goes into a blender. You have to soak the cashews for about 15 minutes in boiling water. And then into the blender goes the cashews, 1/2 cup water plus 2 tablespoons, garlic, lemon juice, and nutritional yeast. And it makes this topping. So this does not get mixed in. You just want to kind of frost this like you frost a cake. So after you dollop it on, and it's a little thicker because it's been refrigerated overnight. After you dollop it on, you'll take a knife and spread it around that quickly. I have a knife handy, I'll use my spoon. And you'll just gently put this on top. Now, once you put it in the oven's like 350 for 20 minutes. It will stay like a sauce, but I think the next step is really important. It really makes the dish that much more special is after you bake this, turn your oven off, take this out, put your oven on broil. And I would put this under the broiler. You have to watch it. Here's what it looks like. It's like your frosted cake, but I would put it under the broiler. This sauce, you could serve it now like this, but the sauce becomes kind of like a crust. And it's very good. It's excellent that way.
Someone had a question. If you freeze this, do you freeze it uncooked or cooked?
I've only ever frozen it cooked. I cut it into sections, a nice healthy portion. I mean, I think we get maybe 4. My husband and I, this would be a main course for us. Or maybe more than that, about 4. That would be a lot, maybe 6. And I freeze it into portions like that. It's already cooked. So, as I said, this is going to be in our Thanksgiving buffet this year.
So you already cooked, but is the sauce on?
Yes,
Oh, okay, the broiled and everything.
yes, and I freeze it that way.
Okay.
And it turns out fine.
And do you heat it in the oven or the microwave?
I've done both, but I think the microwave would be better. The oven might dry it out, but you can see that there's liquid here. It just depends. You have to gauge how much liquid you have in your pan. So it's delicious. And you can vary the vegetables, whatever your family likes. You can put that on the bottom.
If you broil it and you're using a glass pan, you have to be very careful not to put it too close to the element.
Good point.
So if you have a metal pan,
Right.
then you don't really have to worry about it.
Right.
Then you couldn't,
Then we can't
then you
microwave.
can't microwave it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not under the broiler very long. You really have to watch it. When it comes out of the oven, it's slightly brown, but I like to broil it because it gets the crust. I like the crust effect. I don't know why. I like the crust. So 350 for 20 minutes and you're done because basically every layer is already cooked. It just has to meld together. Okie dokie.
Okay. Yeah, it should be good. All right, I'm up. So I did 2 recipes. One I just made ahead of time. They're mini raw pumpkin pie bites. So what you see on our channel for our mini pumpkin pie bites, those are ones that you cook the crust. This is a different recipe that you could just make raw, which is kind of nice. That way, you know, if you have a million things going in the oven or if you want to make it ahead of time. And you can make these as a big pie or you can make them as minis, which is what I have on the YouTube channel. Again, you're just baking the crust, but this one's a little bit different for raw. And they turn out to be little mini pies that you can do individually. And then what I like to do is make the crust. And then over here in my high-speed blender, I made the filling that you can just serve up. And again, you can make a big giant pie, or it's nice to have these minis. And so we'll let everyone here sample those. But what I'm going to cook today is my latest video from YouTube. It's going to be our main, and it's a Thanksgiving platter is what I called it. But I'm going to do it here in person for you guys. So I have some red onions that I just chopped, a small red onion. You can use any onion you like. And I have my induction top. I'm going to turn. I'm just putting them in real easy. And the only thing that you do ahead of time is you cook lentils or a bean and you cook a whole grain. So I changed this up. I have brown lentils today. I've done it with green lentils or black lentils. You could do this with any type of bean you like, white beans, chickpeas. You can kind of change it up. But I just have them cooked. Usually I will batch cook like a big amount of it. And then I just grab 2 cups from that for this recipe. You also could just use canned lentils and rinse and drain it. It's around 1 can. So that's also easy if you want to do it that way. And then for our whole grain, I just cooked up some bulgur wheat. Lately, that's been our favorite. I get my husband to eat that. He likes it because it's nice and quick. It cooks up really fast, but you could use wild rice as another typical Thanksgiving stuffing kind of peel off recipe that you would use. So sometimes we do wild rice. I've done it with, quinoa in the past or any other farro. So I'm gonna add in some vegetable broth just to saute these. And you just want to make sure they're translucent. And I like this recipe because you can kind of dump everything into your really large saute pan. This is a really big one I have up here. But you can serve this warmed or cold. It kind of depends on your preference. We kind of vary. Sometimes it's just even room temperature, which is fine. There's a lot of crunch. We're going to add an apple and some pomegranate seeds. So there's some nice sweetness here too. So it just kind of, you can play around with how much you want to make sure your vegetables are cooked or have them raw. It's really up to you. So I'm just going to saute these until they're see-through, and then really it's dumping in the rest of the ingredients and it's done. You also could stuff this into an acorn squash, and that's really beautiful when you go to serve Thanksgiving, or a butternut squash. And I've even done butternut squash where you've roasted that on its own. You've scooped out the inside and then restuffed it back in. And then you can even use kitchen string and kind of tie it up like you would do a different product that you'd be eating, and put it back into the fridge. And then when you cut it, that's what's on.
Say the word. Okay.
There you go. That's what's on the main of your table. So that's kind of nice and beautiful too. And then you could serve that with a gravy that you made if you wanted. So there's all different ways to change this up. You could also just add in some butternut squash that you cooked to this to kind of beef it up a little bit, or acorn squash, or however you want to do it. So we always are changing this up. Instead of an apple, you could add a pear. You don't have to add pomegranate seeds. You could add some walnuts that are chopped up into this. So it's really versatile, which is kind of my style of cooking and everything I do for recipe creating. So I'm just going to give us a little bit of a toss. And then I keep it kind of simple with the spices. We're going to use some herbes de Provence, which is what Linda used in her recipe. I call it Thanksgiving in a jar. Trader Joe's sells it. I buy like 5 of them when they come out because it's a seasonal ingredient. But most grocery stores carry a blend of it, and it's just a beautiful spice blend. If you have a Trader Joe's near you, I highly recommend getting it. It even has a cute little spoon that comes with it. So it's my Thanksgiving in a jar, I like to call it. All right. A little bit longer on these onions. Most of them are translucent, but I have a couple that are still needing to cook. All right, so another thing too that you can change up is that, you can have celery in this, but then sometimes when I'm out of celery, I put broccoli in it chopped up, or baby bok choy, or shredded carrots. So there's, multiple ways that you can change this up. So I have some broccoli instead of celery. Lately, that's been my favorite. And then I also have some shredded Brussels sprouts. Now you can use any cabbage if you want to use, if you're at Trader Joe's, they have a bag of shredded cabbage you can grab, make your life even easier. But I just shred it with a knife, the Brussels sprouts. And I feel like it adds a nice crunch and texture to this. So another great way of getting a couple different cruciferous vegetables in. And so if you're not a fan of Brussels sprouts, I find that I like them cooked, but sometimes they can be overcooked. Having them raw in something is a really nice way of adding crunch, but not really a Brussels sprout taste. All right, this looks good. I'm going to turn down my heat a little bit, and it's really just dumping the rest in. So I have that bulgur wheat that I've cooked. I'm going to add that in. It's 2 cups. It's 2 cups of lentils or beans, so that's really easy to remember. Okay, you can see it's already starting to get some bulk to it, which is nice. And then I have my broccoli that I've chopped, my Brussels sprouts that I've chopped. The big stainless steel all clad pan that I have. All right. And try to kind of mix it in as best as you can. Try to do this a little bit slow so I don't make a mess. All right, and then I'm gonna add in our apples. So I have 1 apple that I've chopped up. Now you also could use a pear. You can use any apple that you'd like. I leave the skins on. And how long you cook it really will soften the apple. So that's, again, I like it a little bit soft, but that's really, everything in here is already ready to eat. So it's just a personal preference. You can put a lid on it. You might want to add a little bit of extra broth to it so it doesn't burn. So if you're going to do that, that's what I would do. And then I have a little bit of white miso paste that will kind of melt into it as well. And that herbs de Provence we need to add in. It's really simple. And then I usually top it at the very end with the pomegranate seeds. And you also could top it with some parsley or rosemary if you want. You can add a little bit more vegetable broth. And I like it because it takes like 0 time. I'm a big side person, so we'll serve this on a beautiful platter. I brought my container here, my serving tray. And then I also like to add in a little bit of dried fruit. It adds an extra different element to it. So raisins or dried cherries or apricots are really nice in this. You could even put in cranberries if you wanted to. But I find that the fresh fruit and the dried fruit really give a nice play on each other. So I have some raisins I'll add a little bit closer to the end. So I'm just cooking this until everything is kind of softened. And I just turn on the heat so nothing at the bottom burns. And I like to see the broccoli get a really vibrant green color, and then I kind of know that it's done for our taste when I serve this. But again, you can kind of go as long as you'd like. You could also move this to a baking dish and put it in the oven and just let everything soften that way. So I would probably do it at 350 for around 20 minutes. And that's another option too. But you guys can see it looks really beautiful. And again, you can serve this on its own. You can stuff it. We've been eating this. I just did it for the channel. So I've been eating this like every night for dinner. So however you want to do it. And then, change out the beans and the whole grains to kind of make it interesting. You can start to smell the herbs de Provence. All right, I'm gonna let this go just for a little bit longer. And then I'll give you back the induction top so you can go to your next, or the plug. Do you want to talk about the brownies while this cooks?
I don't have my recipe in front of me. My recipe. The brownies are very simple. I use, in this particular recipe, I use canned organic pumpkin. And the recipe, you'll be getting the recipe.
This is Susan Greenberg.
Hi.
Let's make sure that you know who's talking here.
Right. This is a recipe that actually started out as a cupcake recipe, but the woman who developed the recipe suggested that it could be muffins. And so I decided to go I guess I split the difference. I put this in a brownie pan, and then I averaged out how much time it would take to cook the brownies. It came out to be about 23 minutes in my oven. Every oven is different, so be aware of that. And it's got miniature chocolate chips. It's got whole wheat pastry flour. Trying to think of all the other things that are in it. It's got a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, some vanilla, and am I leaving any? And 2/3 of a cup of pumpkin. And then you bake it I baked it in a 9x9 pan, and it was a silicone pan, so I didn't have to process it in any way. And the rest is in the taste. It's turned out to be one of my favorite recipes. Is there anything? I gave
No,
Sal,
no.
no.
Everybody
Looks really
will
good.
get all these recipes. Someone just asked online. You will get it all tomorrow with the link to this wonderful presentation. So yes, everything is coming and more.
And yes, everyone that's on here gets it too.
Yes, everyone who signs up, yes. In person and on Zoom. You all get it.
All right,
Okay.
I will.
You can keep on cooking, Brittany.
Oh, I'm
that's
gonna,
okay.
I'll plug it in. Yeah,
I can talk.
you're good.
Okay, we'll take a little break here, for commercial break here. Oh, yeah.
This is. Is there anything we need, any help with over there?
Where are we moving? Down, down?
Does anybody would like more of anything?
More, we'll take a commercial break. Okay, dips. This time of the year, it's always nice to have a few dips in your recipe box or file to take, or if you're having people over. It's something handy and quick. The first one I've made, I'm not going to demonstrate, I'll just show it to you so you can taste it, but it's a carrot dip.
And for those people that came in late, this is Linda Jones, so
Oh, hi. I'm back.
you're back.
So the carrot dip has, most everything goes into your food processor. 2 to 3 cloves of garlic, a slice of sweet onion, purple or yellow, 2 raw carrots, and a cup of cashews that have been soaked in hot water for 15 minutes and drained. But do save the water that you drain for a few minutes. So put that all in the food processor and chop it up, mince it as fine as you would like it. Then to get it to form together as a dip, start adding a tablespoon at a time of that drained cashew water. If you by accident throw out the cashew water, which I've done before, I've drained them and it's like, you can use regular water, a few tablespoons. It'll come together and it's a nice, you can make it as soft as you can make it as soft as you want. It is very good. I like to dip vegetables. I just brought some zucchini rounds. I like to dip vegetables in that. I also like to make these tortilla chips. I've talked about them a lot. Ezekiel, I couldn't get these for a while and I couldn't figure out why. They reformatted the package and everything. So these are Ezekiel. I buy mine locally in Pittsburgh at the East End Food Co-op. But these are nice because I take them out, cut them into triangles. I'll show you. Cut them into triangles and bake them at 350, 375, 4 or 5 minutes on each side. And they toast up and they get crispy. Let them cool completely. And truth be told, I don't even cover them up. They're on my counter in a bowl, uncovered. That way they stay crispy. If you cover them up even 2 days later, somehow they get soft. And we really like the crunch. So my husband makes a whole package of these, like on a Sunday on 2 cookie sheets. He has his tortilla chips for his lunch for the week. He has the same lunch, the same tortilla chips, the same hummus, the same vegetables, Monday through Friday. So he's a happy camper. So here's what the chips look like. And they're very crunchy. Let's see if you can hear it. Did you hear that crunch?
That's the commercial break, right? there,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very crunchy. So that's good for that dip. Now then we have a sweeter dip that I was going to demonstrate. And this is a dip that I made years ago. And I remember before I was whole food, plant-based, healthy eating, it had a block of cream cheese in it. It had a tub of Cool Whip in it and spices. Here's the newer version, the better version, pumpkin dip with almond butter. So we're going to sample that today. What I like to serve with this is, I have orange juice cookies. It's actually a takeoff from Brittany. Brittany has a very good recipe called Unsugar Cookie that you want to look up for sure. It's good for cutout cookies this time of the year, cut out pumpkins, turkeys, Christmas trees.
Yeah.
So I changed it a little bit. I modified it for mine and added some orange juice to it. You'll see on the recipe. But this is very good to serve with your pumpkin dip. It's a sweeter dip. It's more like a dessert dip. And I also have something called simple sugar cookies. Now these have almond butter in them. The orange juice ones do not. So I've made this one today with almond butter, and I'm going to demonstrate. I've wanted to do this before. I have 4 grandchildren, and 2 of them have peanut allergies. And one we're not sure yet, but he can eat sunflower seed butter. So we're going to make a sunflower seed butter pumpkin dip in this bowl. Okay. And this is fairly simple too, because everything goes into your blender. So we have 1 cup of pumpkin, which do not get the pumpkin pie mix. You want 100% pure pumpkin. That goes into the blender. Is this okay, Sally? Do you want me to
That's
move it
fine.
around? Okay. Then we have sunflower seed butter. Now, sunflower seed butter doesn't have a whole lot of taste to it. When I make my grandkids peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I make sunflower butter seed and jelly sandwiches, and they seem to like it.
Do you make your own sunflower seed butter? Or
No, I do buy it. I buy a jar of it. Okay, then we have maple syrup, 2½ tablespoons of maple syrup, and 2½ teaspoons of date paste. You can make your own date paste, or you can buy date paste, date syrup. I happen to make this. It's a little thicker than the date syrup. I think it's called Date Lady that sells it in a jar. Date Lady. Hers is much thinner. So it wouldn't matter. And then comes some spices. A tablespoon of vanilla extract. A teaspoon of cinnamon. And a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. Now, if you can't find pumpkin pie spice, you can make your own. It is cinnamon, cloves, allspice, nutmeg, and ginger. Okay, I think we have everything in there. Right? This is a little bit noisy. And it simply gets blended together. And there we have it. It is very thick, and it will thicken up a little bit if you refrigerate it. I like to have it.
I just noticed that it's darker on one side and the other.
You know what? That's the fault of my jar. I use so much cinnamon in my jar that my jar has stained slightly. My Vitamix jar. Pardon, yeah. I make smoothies every morning with at least a tablespoon of cinnamon. So my jar has a lot of cinnamon. It's a lot of cinnamon in here. So I serve this with apple slices, pear slices, or these little dipping cookies that I brought today. This is something that I think you can eat it if you have a nut allergy. You can probably eat sunflower seed butter. And it's a nice dip to take along to go somewhere or when you're having people over. And I think it lasts, let's see. Yeah, you can store this in the refrigerator up to 10 days. So that's really nice. It's just a nice seasonal dip to have at your fingertips. And most of the ingredients you can have in your pantry. So when you're trying them today, our in-house people, this is going to be the sunflower seed one. And the other one is the almond. Okay, that's good. All right, let's show you. I had a little curl on the top.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Looks like Dairy Queen.
I didn't even try that, the little curl on the top with the cookies, and it's very yummy. So I hope you try it.
Oh. I played with it, so
They're at the move, like the moving camera.
that's what will be on our Thanksgiving.
That is a work of art. Gorgeous. Wow. We should all have Thanksgiving right here. This is incredible.
We could move up the
We're gonna
holiday.
have it all after.
So I'm going to move this out of the way here. We can look at everything and we can find out if there's questions from people who are sitting in the audience or online. Oops, another. You want to just, yeah, put it in the chat. If you have a question or unmute yourself. But anything?
Any questions from you guys?
Explained it perfectly.
Yeah.
Can you put it in the freezer?
Yes,
Okay.
it
I
freezes
do it
great.
all the time.
Yeah.
Well, we were excited to see your.
Oh, someone asked is, yeah, they can't hear. If you can freeze, date, paste, and the answer is
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
you can do it.
Absolutely.
Especially in either ice cube trays or those very small plastic containers that, you know, for what
Yeah.
portion
Right.
you
Yeah, here
typically
you can-
use. Right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a number of these around
Oh, yeah. They really come in handy.
for portions, or the ice cube trays that we've talked about before.
Ice cream trays are great.
Put them in ice cube trays, pop it in your freezer as soon as they're frozen. Bring your ice cube tray out and unmold it and put them in a baggie.
Mhm.
Make sure you label it.
Yes. some
I have
things
several
look
red
like-
baggies in my, I've had
Yeah.
several red baggies in my freezer. I'm not sure, is this marinara? Is this salsa?
Gravy.
What is this? So make sure you label it.
What was your question?
I was just saying, you used your blender the last time we had class, and you're using it this time. And we said, that's a fancy blender. And we got home and we have the same blender. So now we're gonna use it.
We all have fancy, yeah, fancy
I
blenders.
use it. I was just thinking I should do a Vitamix commercial
Yeah.
at least once a day.
Wow.
The other thing is that, I'm not sure you're aware of it, when it's on a table that has a lot of airspace under it, it sounds a whole lot noisier than when it's on a kitchen counter that's got a solid base and is, you know, equipment
That
underneath
fan.
it. It
Yeah.
makes a difference. So this
Oh.
really sounds like a jet engine taking off, but
And I just keep this under my counter. I had a blend tech before that fit nicely under my counter, and we redid our kitchen. And now this does not fit under my counter, but this does. So I'm
Mhm.
happy because I use it a lot. And then this just goes in the pantry across from the,
And if you have that model, they have a food processor on that you can buy to attach it. So you use the same base, you just have a food
yeah, they
processor.
do.
And I
oh,
have it.
that's interesting.
It's really nice. It's
They
8
do.
cups. It's a huge.
Oh, I have to do that because I don't have a food
I
processor.
went through a million food processors.
Make sure it fits your base.
And
Do you
it's
have
the
a- you have
best
a
one I've
Vitamix?
ever used.
An
So
older
yeah,
model.
it's only the
Interesting.
Ascent. Yeah, it has to be the Ascent.
And this
ones.
Vitamix came with a
Oh,
bigger
it
jar.
has to be the Ascent.
It's the newer one.
With
Yeah.
a much larger jar, and I knew I made smoothies every day, and I didn't want to use that big jar every day.
That's huge.
So I bought this one that's a smaller jar, so I make my smoothie.
That's really interesting.
It's like a 3-cup smoothie every day.
They also have like a really tiny one where you can make like salad dressings or like small, like if you wanted to make a small amount of date paste or nut butter or something like that, or baby food.
Wow.
which you can get like the Ascent series is pretty, I've been really happy with it so far. We upgraded from an old Vitamix to this.
I might
the
have
newest
to
one.
upgrade. Okay, this presentation is gonna cost me money. I can do that. Uh-huh. Yeah, if you're an NHA, National Health
Yeah, so they have a
Association,
discount.
they do have a discount, right?
Yeah, that's what I used.
Yeah, you just have to be careful because the ceiling in my kitchen has splats of food from when the lid wasn't on tight
Oh,
enough.
Yeah, well, this one is nice because it actually locks it, so you have to have it on before it'll turn on.
Oh.
It won't turn on with the food
That's-
processor or
that's
the
smart.
blender.
That's smart.
So you really have to make sure like it's hooked on, and that lid is like it's pretty
Yeah.
secure.
So we have a question here. Do you think meat eaters would like the creamy lentil and vegetable bake and the Thanksgiving platter? Absolutely. Shall I present these as veggie side dishes? Hey,
It's up to you.
it's up to you.
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
go with the main dishes and don't. That's all you can do. The meat eaters can.
Right, that's, I mean, I'm having a buffet Thanksgiving this year, so I'm gonna have this and other vegan side dishes that we
Yeah.
always eat, whether you're plant-based or not. So, and I've made them a cranberry sauce I make.
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed
stuffing,
potatoes.
Yes,
you know.
right.
Stuffing is all, they're just gonna be tweaked a little bit. And
The bottom layer of the lentil is vegetables, but you will get, as I said, you're going to get these recipes tomorrow. So you can, if you came in late, you will see everything.
Yeah. Well, we'll feed you guys. And then the rest of you guys, we'll see you guys later, I guess.
Yeah, is that it? Okay.
All right.
so long.
Thank you,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving.
We'll be in
Nice being with
touch.
you.
Yes, we will have another one. You're going to see. Oh, let me make a final announcement, but you'll see it. It was in my PowerPoint, but you'll get it tomorrow. Is that we are having a cookie recipe exchange, Plant-Based Pittsburgh. So send me, I've already gotten a bunch of recipes. Send me your recipes. You'll have the email. I'm going to just put them all in a big cookie booklet and just email it out to everyone. And because next month is our cookie month. We'll be doing some cookie recipes. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, that's right.
You can just hit stop recording.
Okay.
Or end it.